Okay, if you take one thing from this video, is that apply Texas is literally evil. It's disgusting. Don't ever use it. If any of you guys watching this video are using apply Texas, hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Ashley and I'm going to be a freshman at the University of Notre Dame in the fall, which I'm super duper excited about. But basically, one of my friends who's going to be a senior this year texted me and she was basically like, I can't remember any of the college app advice you told me. Can you give me any advice? Because I totally forgot. I'm going to be honest, I really avoided the topic of anything to do with college apps just because honestly applying to college for me, it was very traumatic and very stressful, but I feel like that's all the more reason to make a video like this. Also, a few things that I want to say is that college decisions are very unpredictable. I could apply to Notre Dame again with everything being the same and I could not get in, and I have no idea why that is. I also am really like speculating here. Everything is my own opinion. I'm obviously not an admissions officer, so I don't know why they do any of the things that they do. I love how my best friend hasn't been responding to my texts for like the past 3 hours, and then she just texted me when I started filming. Like, we love that, bestie. I'm running out of camera battery. Basically, let's get into this video. I'm gonna tell you everything that I wish I knew before applying to college. Okay, so the first thing that I really wanted to mention is how important it is to apply early. I feel like no one really talks about this, or at least in my experience, everything that my school really talked about was very vague. So here are some terms that you need to know. EA, which is early action, and ED, which is early decision. Early action is non-binding, meaning you will just get your decision earlier compared to regular decision applicants, whereas early decision, you will get your decision early and it's binding, meaning in early decision, if you get in, you have to go to that school. And I think the only way you can get out of that is for financial reasons, but I don't know much about that, so you're gonna have to research that. So typically when you apply early action and early decision, you have a little bit of an advantage. I applied to Notre Dame early action, so I'm gonna use Notre Dame statistics for this little example that I'm going to show you. I'm reading off my computer, so if I look over here, that's why. So Notre Dame has restrictive early action, which essentially means that so you can't early decision to a school and early action to Notre Dame at the same time. Hopefully I didn't make that confusing. But basically, Notre Dame's REA acceptance rate was 17%, while the regular decision rate was 10%, which those are both very low. And obviously there could be a lot of reasons that the early action decision rate is higher. It could be stronger applicants, it could be because of student athletes and different things like that. And a lot of people will bring up, well, it's harder to stand out because the applicant pool might be stronger, but personally I was really nervous about that because I didn't think I was the strongest applicant, and I was able to get in, and I got nominated to be like a semi-finalist for a merit scholarship, which was really cool. I didn't end up getting it, but it just goes to show you, like, don't let yourself hold you back. You could be a really strong applicant. I personally believe that applying early gives you a big advantage if you are 100% sure that you like the school and that you're super duper interested in the school. And honestly, like, the biggest benefit is that you find out earlier. You find out in December instead of waiting till March, because the number one thing that sucks about college applications is waiting as long as you have to. It literally will drive you crazy, you guys. I was unstable in March. I'm telling you, I was literally unstable. Like, I was not okay. The second biggest piece of advice that I have for you guys is to make a spreadsheet. Now, again, this may just be my personality, but even if you don't like spreadsheets, you need a spreadsheet. I don't care. You can't make an excuse. You need a spreadsheet. What I did on my spreadsheet is I wrote the college, the due date of the application, the number of supplements the college had, the link to a Google Doc where I had my essays, and then if they have a scholarship essay and the scholarship due date, you can also write that. But basically having that, instead of having to look through my drive every single day when I would be editing my essays or writing a new essay, or being like, oh my gosh, what's the prompt for this school? All I would need to do is go onto my computer, go to the spreadsheet, and then click on the school. And if I'm like, oh my gosh, what's due? I can easily see the due dates, but it is just, it'll make you feel so much more at peace instead of just like hoping and praying. Literally changed my life. Okay, the third thing that I'm going to talk about is how to write a Common App essay. The thing that really sucks about this is, maybe this is just my personal experience, essays are something that I feel like I had the least guidance over, like from teachers and college counselors just in general, because school essays are very different from like essays that you would send into college. And to be completely honest, it took me over a month to write my Common App essay, and I'm going to recommend a video on the screen. This is the video that I watched. He is so funny, and the way that he just thinks about things and he explains things, like, I was able to write my Common App essay based off of this video just because it cleared up so much for me. So I'm going to recommend this video to you guys just because I don't feel like I could say anything more helpful than what he says in this video. Okay, the next thing is going to be about the activities section in your application. A lot of people have told me that admissions officers don't read every single activity that you have. So one thing that I would recommend that I did is write your activities in order of importance, or honestly like how impressive they are, and also how much they pertain to your major. There's also a video that I recommend that I watched. I will also put that on the screen. I'll also link it down below. This video is amazing. Again, I'm not going to give any more advice on this topic just because I don't think I could give better advice than her. I wrote all my activity sections based on how she wrote her activity section because I was so confused. I was like, literally, what do I write? Like, I did community service. Like, I don't do that. But watch that video. It'll clear it up if you're like, how do I write in the activity section when it only lets me write like 2 words? Watch that video. It's a lifesaver. The next tip or advice that I have is that essays, again, are so important, but especially supplemental essays, because a lot of them, colleges pick specific prompts. But another thing I was confused on is, how do I write a supplemental essay that sort of makes me stand out and that would show off my personality but also answer the prompt? And that is something that I really struggled with. So I feel like the best way I can sort of explain this to you is I'm actually going to read you one of my supplemental essays that I wrote for Notre Dame. So this is one of my favorite essays that I ever wrote, so I'm going to read it to you guys. I'm a little nervous. Okay, so this is going to be kind of confusing. If you've started applying to college, you'll get it. But Notre Dame, they had 2 supplemental essays, and on the second question, you could choose from a ton of different questions. So this is the prompt that I chose. There is a story or meaning behind every name or nickname. Both those were given and those that we choose. What is meaningful to you about your name? And I only had 200 words, and I kept rewriting this like a million times, but I'm gonna read it to you guys. I could feel the iron's heat flatten my natural curls with the hair straightener I was not supposed to have. After admiring my now perfectly straight hair in the mirror, I continued to get ready for school. I was tired when I returned home, so my mother tucked me into my parents' bed while she went to get my favorite pillow. My mother slowly opened the door, clutching my flat iron in her palm. While no words were exchanged, I knew she expected an explanation. I contemplated the many excuses I could make, but under my mother's stern glance, I realized the only option was honesty. I explained that I had been straightening my hair every day for school and hiding the flat iron in my bathroom's top cabinet. Instead of being scolded, I was met with the corners of my mother's mouth twitching upward in amusement. "Don't do it again, Cassis." My mother softly grabbed my face and whispered. The Konkani word for hair became my favorite childhood nickname. Whenever I was in trouble, my mother would give me a stern lecture, but always refer to me as Cassis, so we both knew I wasn't really in trouble. That's one of my favorite essays that I ever wrote, and this is actually a true story. Fun fact, when I was younger and I would get in trouble, my punishment would be that my mom would take my flat iron away. I think this essay achieves a lot of things. Obviously, it answers the prompt, but it's a story. It's super unique to me. It shows a lot of different aspects about my personality. It like showcases my culture, and most importantly, it's very unique, and I would say there are not a lot of people that would have this similar experience experience. And another thing is that this is not the most well-written essay ever, but it is really unique. The best advice I ever got, it might have been on YouTube or like maybe in person, I don't know. I asked like a million people a million different things. It's hard to like decipher who told me what, but the best advice I ever got is for supplemental essays, try to write a story. So that's what I did in that supplemental essay, and I think that it's one of the best supplemental essays that I wrote, again, in my opinion. So yeah, that's my biggest advice, is for your supplemental essays, try to write a story, because if it's personal to you, it's automatically going to be unique. And also, please don't copy my essay. I really don't know how you would copy that, but please don't. Okay, if you take one thing from this video, is that apply Texas is literally evil. It's disgusting. Don't ever use it. If any of you guys watching this video are using apply Texas, unsubscribe from me right now. Like, I take such great offense to that. It is literally the worst thing ever created. Anyone who has ever met me when I was applying to college, I literally once a day would talk about how much I hate apply Texas. I'm not even joking. It's basically, if I just sum it up, it's a scammer website marketed as a way to apply to colleges in Texas. Just use Common App and Coalition. They are much better. Some Texas schools aren't on the Common App, and for those, they're on Coalition. So you don't need to use apply Texas, you guys. Okay, this next thing is personally something that I struggled with, and I feel like everyone talks about this, but it's not to take rejection personally. I say this as I took every single rejection personally, but basically it's really difficult because, like that essay that I read you guys, you're sharing your personal stories, what you spend your time doing, things you're passionate about, and whenever you get a rejection from a college, it's like they're saying no to you personally. But the thing that you really just need to understand is that they're not saying no to you, they're saying no to a piece of paper. And I totally get how it can feel like they're rejecting you personally, but they don't know you personally. There's so much luck involved in this. Like, do they make a connection with you from a piece of paper? Again, don't take it personally, don't do what I did. I probably cried over almost every single rejection. That's so sad, but I definitely did. And you know what? One thing I recommend, once you get that rejection, be upset about it, cry, go get yourself Starbucks. I literally did that all the time. And then the next day, whatever, I got rejected from that school. Because if you just let it fester, you're gonna go crazy. So be upset about it for a little bit and then get over it. If there's one underlying thing you'll learn from applying to college, is that the college you go to literally does not matter at all. You are just so grateful and blessed that you get into one college. Obviously, it would be nice to get into certain colleges that you want, but if you don't, it's whatever. And that goes into the next tip that I have, is about your college list. Only apply to schools that you would see yourself going to. One, why do you want to waste the money on an application fee of a school you don't even want to go to? And two, this is something, like, I'm not saying this to be mean, but you might not get into your reach schools. I didn't get into a ton of my reach schools. I got into one of them, which I'm very thankful for. Don't put all your hope on like a 15% acceptance rate. You'll drive yourself absolutely insane. And if you don't get into your reach schools, then at least your backup school will be a school that you actually are super duper interested in. And really being in that mindset takes a lot of pressure off yourself, because if you're like, oh my god, if I don't get into Notre Dame, then I have to go to X school, like, no, you shouldn't put yourself in that mindset. You should just be like, oh my gosh, I got into this school. Oh, I didn't get into that school. It's fine. I'm okay with going to this school. Trust me, it'll be much better on yourself mentally. Shoot your shot with schools, because obviously you guys have Google. Notre Dame is $80,000, which is a lot of money. And I'm not paying $80,000 to go there. I could not afford that. I got very generous financial aid from Notre Dame. And originally I didn't think I would end up going there just because of how expensive it was, and I did not want to be in such heavy student loans, even though it was a really amazing school. But they ended up giving me really good financial aid. I would say in general, don't let the price deter you. Apply, and maybe you could get financial aid, because I didn't even think I would get financial aid, and I did. So I would say just shoot your shot. You never know. They could give you a scholarship or financial aid. I got also a lot of questions about how I made my college list. This is so hard because I was sort of all over the place. Like, I would literally keep adding schools because I was like, oh my god, I'm not getting in. But my best advice is to make a list. Like, my initial list was like 40 schools. I did not apply to 40 schools, but just make a list of every single school that interests you, and then start researching. Do you like the location? Do they have a good program for the major that you're interested in? Pay attention to whether schools have your major, because when I was looking at schools to apply to, there were so many schools that did not have a major that was interesting to me. I wanted to major in marketing, and there were some schools where they didn't have a marketing major. It was like business administration or like a general business major, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted a marketing major specifically. Make sure, research every single school and see if they have your major. You might think I'm crazy, but there are literally schools that like don't have a marketing major, so make sure they have your major, because why would you go to a school where you can't even major in what you want? Also, this is something I personally did. I'm not gonna name this school just because people really like this school, so I like don't want to be hated on, but there are certain schools where you sort of have to compete for your major, which is crazy to me. So you could get into this college and then you're not even promised your major. You have to apply into the major that you want. Personally, when I was researching and I found out colleges had that, I immediately took it off my list, because I was sort of in the mindset of, imagine working your butt off to get into college and then you couldn't even major in what you wanted, and you're paying all this money to not even major in what you want. Absolutely not. It's incredibly unfair to the students that work really hard when they can't even get the major that they want, and I hate that schools do that. So that is something that I didn't even know schools do, and schools do that. So please research if you essentially have to like compete for the major that you want. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, but again, my biggest advice that I want to leave you with is that the school that you go to does not matter that much. So stop putting so much pressure on yourself. Again, every single YouTuber says this. Anytime I would see a YouTuber talk about this, I would roll my eyes. And I know you're probably rolling your eyes at me, especially if you're an underclassman. But trust me, when you're very stressed out, you're just gonna be like, I'm thankful to be going to college. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe and comment down any other videos you guys want me to do. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Maybe I think you're cute, can I hit you up on Instagram? Cause you are the only thing I'm thinking of, and I can't stop it, I'm wishing you and I were talking. But even if we talked, I wouldn't know what I would say. My social awkwardness would just get in the way, and maybe I'm a little bit shy, but I'll try.